You're listening to the Mopcast Network.
Welcome to the Cult Movie Cantina.
Yes, hello, welcome to our podcast.
This is the podcast that looks at some of your favorite cult films as an alcoholic beverage.
We will.
We will.
She's not here with us.
She's not here with us, though, and we talk about it.
You've skipped my spot the last 2 weeks.
What?
Shows it to someone who's not seen it.
Sorry.
Like, you just...
Sorry.
We talk about her not being here, and you're like... And then we talk about it.
Well, sorry,
Boom, done.
because Steph's not here, and it throws everything off.
Please fix it. Correct.
Okay. Take two. This is the podcast that looks at some of your favorite cult films.
We do.
As an alcoholic beverage.
She's not here today, though.
Shows us someone who's not seen them.
Me! Hello, I'm here. Present.
And then we talk about it.
Yay.
I'm your Native American pop culture spirit guide, Scotty, and I'm joined by, as always, she's not here. And we're also joined by...
Justina, your jellicle jester.
She who knows no movies.
Admiral.
At your service.
At ease.
See, we got through some of it.
We did. Well done.
You can find us on any podcast app. I'm screwing this all up.
Yeah. Also joining us today is our producer.
I am
number 2.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, everybody. There it is.
There it is. He's here too.
I'm gonna blame the new medication.
Stephanie, you have imbalanced our chair. The legs don't work.
Right. Yeah. Who does number 2 work for?
You
he
guys.
works for us.
There we go. You can listen to us on any podcast app. You probably listen to us on a podcast app. Please rate and subscribe. It helps us out. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Cult Movie Cantina, where you can play games like Wrong Title Only and Name This Band and other things I'm coming up with as we go along. You're on YouTube. We're on YouTube, not you. You are not.
You will be when you're looking for us on YouTube.
We're on YouTube at Mopcast Network, and we're on TikTok now. I've been loading up TikToks. So we're on TikToks. This week we are watching the 1991 cult classic, and dare say real classic, Silence of the Lambs, directed by Jonathan Demme, written by Thomas Harris and Ted Talley. It really was written by Ted Talley. Thomas Harris was just the source material. He had no involvement. Because he's notoriously shy, and he's like, he doesn't want to bother anybody. Stars Jodi Foster as Clary Starling, Anthony Hopkins as Dr. Hannibal Lecter, this time with a C, not a K. Scott Glenn as Jack Crawford, Anthony Held as Dr. Frederick Chilton, Frankie Faison as Barney, Ted Lavine as James Gum, and Brooke Smith as Catherine Martin. Do we have some fun facts or activities for the day?
So if you have seen this film, you will notice that there's a lot of riddles, if you will. He likes to speak in a way that makes you think and ponder your existence in life.
A lot of anagrams, too. He's a fond fan of anagrams.
Yes, he is. So I brought the trivia games this time. And since Stephanie is out, producer Caleb, number 2, you get to play along.
Oh, boy.
This is trivia from the 90s.
Dun, dun, dun.
Question 1.
Yes. How do we buzz in? How are we doing this?
Let's go back and forth.
Okay.
Back and forth. So this was for...
You.
Okay.
All right. Scotty.
Yes.
What was the name of the pink Mighty Morphing Power Ranger? I have options, too.
Yes, please.
But I was kind of hoping you would just throw it down like you do, Rain Man.
I have names in my head, but I'm not sure exactly, so I will need options.
Okay.
Also, unfair, colorblind.
Okay, but first of all, there's 2 ladies, so just know one of the 2 names. Kimberly, Katie, Casey, or Catherine?
Kimberly.
It is Kimberly. That is correct.
Because I keep wanting to say Amy, but that's her real name.
That is exactly what I would expect from you and nothing less, to know both of the names.
That's good. Remember
All right,
which was
Caleb.
real or fake.
All right.
What was the first Mary-Kate and Ashley movie?
Oh, I don't know this one.
This one you might know, though.
All right.
Billboard Dad, It Takes Two, To Grandmother's House We Go, How the West Was Fun.
I want to say it's To Grandmother's House We Go.
Is that are you asking or are you telling me?
Hold on. Give me the options again.
Billboard Dad, It Takes Two, To Grandmother's House We Go, How the West Was Fun.
I'm going to stick with my gut.
Okay, well, that is correct. Well done.
Good, because I would have went with It Takes Two, which I think
that was my other.
Which I think is the first theatrical one. These are all home.
Yeah,
all
a
they're
lot.
all
Yeah, like 75% were home release.
By the way, this is why they don't have to work anymore. But they are
Well,
They're just
because
living
also
their life.
they use that money to go into fashion, and
Right,
then they
just-
stayed there.
Yeah,
it's just
they're interesting people.
that's why they're
if you
making their
look
little
them up
sister do all the
now.
work.
Now her sister has to be the actor because she didn't grow up doing that.
Right. I think
So
she was in like
it's
an
a rough
episode.
life.
Yeah.
She got the creds. You have to get the cred
Right,
from the
yeah.
episodes.
I think
so
she was
you
in
can take
an
it.
episode
Yeah.
to Full House. When
Are
she
you
was-
ready?
Yes.
Who was the butler on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Jeffrey
Well done.
Yeah.
Do you know how it was spelled?
with a G.
Yes, it was. Well done.
Mhm. It's that fancy G. Hey, G.
You ready?
Yeah.
What 8-film Tom Cruise franchise started out in the 90s?
Oh, I don't need this. Mission
Dun,
Impossible.
dun, 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 dun. No,
Yeah, there's
no.
only one 8 film that he's done.
Yeah.
Its
He's
other
still doing.
options were Jack
Probably
Reacher,
like 10 films by now.
Yeah.
Taken, which he's not doing Taken.
No, he
and
didn't do Taken.
Underworld.
And Jack Reacher only had one that he did.
1 or 2. I think he did 2 Jack Reachers.
But yeah, Mission Impossible. That
Yeah.
was- All right, Scotty.
He either did the one Jack Reacher or he did 2 of the other one. Because I know he did 2 like Jack Reacher type guys.
Yeah.
I think it's
They're
the other
all
one.
the same type of people.
Yeah, they are basically.
Which is not considered a grunge band. This is fun. I enjoy this question for you.
Oh, I love it.
Pearl Jam.
It's my favorite grunge band, so no.
Soundgarden.
Grunge band.
I don't know this. I don't know if it's supposed to. I think it might have to. It's Nirana, but I feel like it might have been Nirvana, and they missed the V.
Probably.
That because I don't know a band Nirana.
So, Nirvana.
So we're gonna say Nirvana.
All right.
Yeah.
Matchbox
that's what-
20.
Matchbox 20. They're from Orlando.
Oh, that is correct.
Yeah.
And they're actually they're actually a band came out of another band, much like Pearl Jam, except without death. And the lead singer and the guitarist were in an earlier band called Tabitha Secret. And when they didn't, they had one release out and they got dropped by the label. They broke up and they made Matchbox 20.
And here we are with our Rain Man, Caleb.
Yes.
Who played Cher in Clueless?
I am gonna need.
Do you need them?
Yeah.
Okay. Stacey Dash, Reese Witherspoon, Brittany Murphy, Alicia Silverstone.
The only person I know that was in that I know of, I'm gonna go with. Reese. I have not watched Clueless.
So
You're
who
going with Reese Witherspoon?
are you
like-
going with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I give you the correct answer?
Yeah. Give me the correct
yeah,
one.
you can.
It's the Alicia Silverstone.
Oh, okay.
Which
Yeah.
I knew that.
Clueless is one that I'm
Clueless we need to do on the podcast,
Yeah.
actually. I think
I really like
yeah.
Clueless.
I think we should do Clueless. Clueless is great.
Reese Witherspoon was in Legally Blonde.
That's it. Yeah.
Which
they
is
look
also-
very similar.
Which is also surprisingly good.
It
Yeah.
is very good.
I really like Legally
Legally
Blonde.
Blonde,
And
both
I
of
like
them
the
are really
musical.
good, yeah.
I really like the musical.
Yeah, it was fun too.
Yeah,
I
so-
enjoyed that. All right, Scotty.
Yes.
Which of these is not an original Beanie Baby?
Ooh.
Patty the Platypus, Chocolate the Moose, Legs the Frog, or Happy the Hippo?
I don't know this one. I will go with the Patty the Platypus.
It is Happy the
Hippo.
I knew Chocolate the Moose was a real
I
one.
knew. Yeah, Chocolate Moose sounds like a.
Because I
That sounds like this is a cute name.
yeah.
You ready? So
Yeah.
far, we are both down one.
All right.
Which was the last Harry Potter book released in the 90s?
In the night.
Ready?
In the United States or in
I mean,
UK?
it's, I
Yeah.
can.
That's
This game's from the USA, so let's say the
okay.
USA.
So we'll say U.S.
I like that
publication.
you asked that question because I don't know that other. Like they were released pretty close. so.
Yeah, right. So I just.
He'd be
Yeah, I
like,
don't know.
"There's 3 weeks difference, so I need
It's
to know."
true. It's
Yeah.
right.
They
So-
were all
so one
released in
could be-
July, so it doesn't
Right,
matter.
like the UK one could have been in 1999, and then the one in the US could have been like 2000.
Yeah.
No,
like
it
it
was-
just missed it.
Just
No,
missed it.
They were released in
But,
July.
yeah.
So the options you have from the books are Prisoner of Azkaban, Chamber of Secrets, Goblet of Fire, or Order of the Phoenix.
I want to say it's pretty early because I think they started in the I think they started in the mid 90s. So I want to say give me one more time, just so I can.
Prisoner of Azkaban,
Mm-hmm.
Chamber of Secrets, Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix.
I'm gonna go with Prisoner of Azkaban.
What number is that?
That would be 3.
Thank you. That is correct.
That was my guess. And
Yeah, because it has to be
it
early.
has to be early.
Yeah.
It could have been that or Chamber of Secrets.
Well done. All right.
I know. Like I can get to that number after that. And I don't because I think that's the last movie.
That's about as high as we went.
The last movie I saw. So
Okay.
I think we should.
Because Goblet of Fire is the next one, and it
You know
that
what?
felt like a 2000s.
Steph's not here, but let's go ahead and discuss that real quick.
Yeah.
Maybe the podcast can help us
Okay.
decide this. So I'm thinking about next season. All right, because we're about 4 more episodes, 4 more movies before we're done for this season. And a while back, years ago, Justine and I started a podcast where we were trying because she'd not seen the Star Wars films and I hadn't seen most of the Harry Potter stuff.
But what was really fascinating about it is we did it in order.
Right. So we did it in
Chronological.
episode of order, not release order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started Star Wars in a weird way, people.
Right. Right. Which
Which is
I
what
think
Scotty does to me.
I think it's also the correct way.
For
For Star Wars, I think Star Wars you should start episode 1 and go through the story.
that, I'm chronological as well.
Yeah, I'm chronological. I'm definitely against the machete order. But
The machete order is to prevent the plot twist from revealing too soon for each one, and it's like no, it
you're
doesn't
fine.
matter.
You're fine. You're fine.
But that's the thing is when we went through it, and this might be extra, but I wasn't aware of things that you were known.
Well, yeah.
They didn't approach it the same way. Like when we were watching them, it was just fascinating because we would be watching it and talk about it afterwards because that's what we did.
Yeah.
And we watched it together and then we talked about it. So they were late nights. But I was like, he seems like he might be a bad guy. People look at him like he's a bad guy, but I don't know what he's done.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I technically mostly watched in release order growing because I watched episode 1 first. That's
because
that's how I was
you were
introduced.
little when it came out, right?
That's how I was
Yeah.
introduced, yeah. And so I watched it on VHS a bunch, and that's how I watched it. And then I watched 4, 5, and 6 after because I got those
Right.
on VHS. And then
And now that
2 was my first
now we've
theatrical.
got the sequel trilogy out. And we've got some
Yeah.
and so
That'd be
and some good shows.
so
and-
I think I wanted to, and if the audience thinks this is a good idea, I think we should do next season. I think we should do Star Wars and Harry Potter again. And I would skip the cult meetings this next season though. I would do.
It would have to be. Well, it would have to.
Would have to, and so
Yeah.
we could have like a mini. If there's something important to talk about, we'd talk about it. But I think we do Star Wars, Harry Potter, Star Wars, Harry Potter for the run. I think it'd be fun.
So let us know your thoughts.
Let us know your thoughts on that, and then we'll try again. Anyway, sorry.
we're
Next
on,
question.
We're on Scotty.
Yep. So this is going to be the 5th question for each of you. So this is the last question.
All right.
'Kay.
And we are tied.
I believe so.
Yeah, we're
Right.
tied.
But the tiebreaker
Yeah.
is that I stole your question
yeah.
because I knew the answer to the clueless.
Yeah. So
You
if
don't
we,
get to deter. Guys, this is my game. Hush your faces. All right, Scotty.
Yes.
Michael Jordan led the Bulls to how many championships in the 90s? The options are as follows.
Please.
6, 4, 7, or 5.
4.
The answer is 6.
6. I know he did it a lot.
Alright,
I kept going like 2 of them were like in the
Alright.
early 2000s had to be, but
yeah.
For the win. What year was Google founded? Would you like the year options?
Yes, please.
95, 97, 98, 99.
I'll go 97.
The answer is 98. All right. So now we're going to have a bonus round, okay?
tiebreaker.
Yep.
Yep. Not this one because that's obvious. I know the answer to that one. I'm going to do this one. We've done this question before.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm going to see
So
if
this
you
is
guys
a
remember.
paying attention game.
So I'm going to say it. Nobody can answer until I get through reading the question, all of the options,
Oh,
and then
you're
whoever
killing me, Smalls.
and then whoever has the answer says it first.
Okay.
Okay.
Tamagotchi is a Japanese blending of what 2 words? A, egg and watch. B, computer and pet. C, pet and got you. D, egg and computer.
Egg and watch.
I can watch, yeah.
He said it very fast.
Yeah, he got it first.
He did. Well done. I had forgotten the answer to that. So
I
well
remembered
done.
it.
Yep.
The one that I went past was, what sitcom was Steve Urkel on?
Family Matters.
Family Matters, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I saw Steve Urkel. I was like, no, we're not doing that one. no.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot.
And now, have you been able to silence the lambs?
Clarice.
Clarice?
Oh, we're a lot to talk about. This is going to be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Brothers and sisters, gather round.
Present.
Woo. Meet Clarice Starling. She's an FBI agent in training who's just been plucked up by the head of behavioral science, Jack Crawford, to help with a project involving serial killers. Jack wants her to meet Dr. Hannibal Lecter to get him to fill out a questionnaire in hopes that to answer his answers will help solve future cases. She agrees to meet with the serial killer Lecter, also known as Hannibal the Cannibal, because he eats people. When meeting with Lecter, he is cordial but unnerving and isn't interested in the questionnaire. He is more interested in her and the current serial killer sensation in the country, Buffalo Bill. After some unpleasantness and a conversation on how he killed a census taker, I can't do that. Can you? He offers to help to solve the Buffalo Bill's case by giving her a clue in a storage unit. Meet James Gum, a guy with a funny voice and an interest in women's skins. He kidnaps a woman, turns out to be the daughter of a U.S. senator. He throws her in a well at the bottom of his basement and torments her. It rubs a lotion on the skin.
You did it almost in the right sound. Tone.
And unless it gets the precious, it gets the hose again. That is so unnerving. We'll get to it. Inside the storage unit, she finds the head of Benjamin Raspel, Buffalo Bill's first victim. And now the FBI knows where there's a connection between Bill and Lecter. And Crawford agrees to get Starling to give the doctor an offer to transfer to another facility with perks, such as walking on the beach.
Must be nice.
Must be nice. Too bad the offer isn't good. It's not even real. Lecter's own psychiatrist, Dr. Chilton, has been secretly taping Lecter and Clarice's meetings and discovers the fake offer with the senator's daughter in jeopardy. Chilton contacts the senator, and now the deal is real, and Crawford and Starling are in trouble. Lecter is transferred to Memphis, where he gives details and the name of Buffalo Bill. He is placed in a special constructed cell and guarded by a SWAT team and local Memphis police. Starling visits him and knows because she knows he isn't telling the entire truth. Lecter gets her to confess some childhood trauma that happened after her father died. He gives her the case file he's been working on before Starling is escorted out by the police. Lecter then works on what we will say his gruesome escape. Trust me, you need to see it. He flees Memphis.
It was very beautiful.
It is. It's very artistic. He flees Memphis in a stolen ambulance and isn't seen from again. Clarence looks for the case file with Lecter, help realize that Buffalo Bill knew his first victim. She heads out to the victim's hometown, where she interviews people who knew her, and it leads her to the house of a lady who the victim did some sewing jobs for. It's currently occupied by James Gum, Buffalo Bill himself. Starling realizes she is with a serial killer, tries to arrest him, and he leads her on a chase into his basement. She finds the senator's daughter, but the killer shuts off the lights using night vision goggles to track her down. She hears him behind him and turns and shoots the killer dead. All is saved. Clarice graduates from the FBI and gets a call from Lecter, who's at a tropical island and hunting for Dr.
With
Chilton.
long hair. Well, he's gonna have him for dinner.
He's gonna have an old friend for dinner.
Yeah.
Credits. So let's talk about this film.
Whew.
Well,
So very different than Manhunter. Let's just say that.
Okay, so let's continue the conversation we were gonna have last week.
Yeah, right. Last week.
Okay, so I watched Manhunter. I'm gonna say begrudgingly, like I felt begrudgingly after I was done.
To be fair, you begrudgingly watched
To be
all the
fair.
movies.
100%. But I watched this one. Now, this is a movie that I have always been meaning to watch in its entirety. But I have watched different. I've seen his scene where he escapes. I've seen that because it has a lot of. There's a lot of stuff in it that's very important.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
technically.
Yeah.
Like the interview with him, the way that he's in the shadows and comes into the light, things like that. So I've watched those scenes, but I have not watched the whole thing. So I had a context of what was going on in terms of the storyline.
Right.
So I wasn't clueless to the story. Now, having had watched it all together, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And to the point where it's like, all right, we're going to watch the next one. And then I waited because I wasn't for sure if that was something we were doing on the podcast. And I like to watch them because I haven't seen them pretty close to when we talk about it.
Right.
So it's fresh because it would be fresh. But I did start the show Hannibal because I have an itch now that must be scratched on the skin on my body.
Right.
That no one's taken from me. Anyway, so I started that, and it starts hyper-focused on Graham.
Right.
Like Manhunter.
The entire show
is Graham and
okay,
Lecter.
So, which is good to know. I think this show does what Manhunter was trying to do. And because Graham is such a unique, quirky person in the way that he thinks and approaches things.
So I'll be real excited when you see season 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Because season 3 is Red Dragon.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So Red Dragon's been made 3 times. It's made Manhunter. It's made the remake with Anthony Hopkins as Lecter in Red Dragon, and then they did it on the show Hannibal in season 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So far, now I'm only a couple episodes into season 1, so I haven't watched very much of it. But so far, I thoroughly enjoy the show as well. I think they did a fabulous job of, like, it makes you uncomfortable, but at the same time, like, you want to see what happens next. But the way that they set up his oddities in it, I think is what they were trying to accomplish in Manhunter. And it just, like, you can tell with the lights. I don't know if you could tell as much with how the light changed in Manhunter, because you had a lot of pinks in some of them.
Yeah.
But you watched as, like, the darkness, if you will, faded when he was able to solve something hanging over him. Like, I get what they were doing.
Right.
It was so drastic and overdone to me that it was just cheesy.
Oh yeah, again, like we said last week, Manhunter is a 1980s rock music video in a serial killer movie.
They tried.
Yeah, that's when Michael Mann, especially in that era, Michael Mann.
But Hannibal's so far been really good.
Yeah,
the show.
Yeah, Hannibal's great. Great. I am fascinated by this movie on a couple of levels. I think Jodi Foster is absolutely brilliant in this thing.
I love her as that person.
And she wins an Academy Award for this role,
as she should.
And it's one of the things that she's not playing it ham-fisted. I mean, she's just. I believe that she is a naive, but smart, young trainee in a situation. I buy every bit of it.
Yep.
It looks,
minus her West Virginia accent.
But it looks so. I mean, I don't know what accent she was trying to have. So
West Virginia. She's from West Virginia.
I just assumed she was from the South.
Well, they say West Virginia in the film.
Oh, well, I just discounted that because she's from Texas. It's fine. But her character just was so believable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you connected with her so much because it felt real.
And, like, instantly, because you, I mean, the opening credits is her running through a
Oh, yeah,
course.
I was watching it, and the whole time I was like, I have yet to do something like that.
And you're like, I want to totally do
I
that.
seriously out loud was like, I really want to do an obstacle course because I want to see how I would do because I have a problem. And then Jennifer's like, let's go find you a place. But you see her.
She's a supportive derby wife.
Yeah.
She is. You see her athleticism in points like that, but you also see, like, she has a different way that she approaches things when she's professional. Like, she looks different. I don't like it when she dresses professional. Like, to me, it ages her a lot, which might be the point.
I think it is the point.
Yeah.
But then you see her looking when she's talking to, like, her classmates, and she's dressed differently. Like, she's more casual. It feels like you can tell that she has that nativity, whatever that word. Nativete.
Yeah, she's
very naive. Like, she's very
naivety.
young. And so, like, you can tell that she intellectually and physically is growing, but she's still learning. Like, she's not there yet. And so it's interesting.
I think the dressing up, though, is because she wants, whenever she's trying to be professional, is to match her peers.
Oh yeah. I'm not, like, I don't think it was a bad move.
No.
I just found her more approachable. Like, I enjoyed the way that she appeared when she was hanging out with friends because it felt real.
Yeah.
It just felt very
Because
organic.
while the film never outright states it, this is a feminist story because it's like they make it clear that she is a woman a few times in the film, and then but they never outright say anything
I mean, they kind
specific.
of do. They, because when they call for him, it's like, oh, so he sent a woman this time. Because he thinks if they send an attractive woman, Hannibal will talk.
Because, what's the line? Is I don't think he's seen a woman in 8 years.
But it's never like an outright like, oh, this is a feminist statement. Like it's very
and,
like.
And look, and she's not dressing sexy or anything for him. She's just she's professional, which probably would be the psychiatrist's bag anyway. So
yeah. Well, I think once again that's just her trying to match her peers because
no,
she
absolutely.
knows.
Because she's not aware of the agenda. Like Crawford sends her in there
for
to
the Buffalo Bill
to solve the help with the Buffalo Bill case, like he did with the Tooth Fairy case.
Yep.
He's good at this, and then the Shrike the case in the first season of Hannibal, which is talked about in Red Dragon. So that's what they're working on when Will Graham gets attacked. And so in Red Dragon, anyway, so they're like he's a excellent profiler. He's probably one of the best profilers we got. Too bad he's crazy.
And he's crazy because he can get into the mind of a crazy person.
Right. He's just crazy.
And the problem with Crawford going there himself is he knows that Hannibal will get in his head.
Well, also Crawford is his archenemy. Crawford's the one who's
because
isn't Crawford the one at the end that he follows?
No,
Chilton
is
Chilton.
Chilton's the one that was over the prison.
Yeah, he's the psychiatrist. Okay. He's a psychiatrist.
Yeah, because he got that nice deal, that fancy deal.
So Chilton is that psychiatrist who failed upwards. Yeah. He's not a very good one, but he's landed a cushy job in charge of a.
And now he's got an even cushier job.
Right, and so he's like
for now,
yeah.
He's the he failed upwards, and so he thinks he's superior to Hannibal, and Hannibal's like, I'm way smarter.
I've already figured you out. I was just locked in a cage, buddy.
I figured that's that kind of situation.
The dude wore somebody else's face. Like, to escape, he literally wore somebody else's face. Okay, can you imagine yourself in a place where you're like, I have to escape. The only way I can do it is to take somebody's face off of their face and put it on my face.
And no one figuring it out. Because when they get close to figuring it out, he fakes the seizure.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. But, like, to be in a place where, I get it, he's like a serial, like, he has problems. But not only to have the thought, like, sure, you can have the thought, I could fake this person, but then to do the action and then put their face on your face.
Yeah.
It's just, that would be hard to even pretend to do. Like, as an actor, that would be very difficult to wear something knowing it's imitating somebody's face.
So, there are 2 points in the movie that mirror each other, or allude to each other, that I find fascinating. When Chilton is walking Clarice down to see Lecter, he's giving her the rules. Mm-hmm. And he says, the reason why we have this rules is because once we remove the strains, he killed a nurse. And his pulse never got above 85.
Yeah.
And then when we see him in his escape, when he's beating
you hear that his pulse is 80.
No, he's not. Like he's not
calm.
He's calm. Yeah. He's beating a guy to death as physically calm as he is possibly be. His body's almost relaxed as he's easily beating the ever living shit out of.
Well, and then
guy.
we hear his pulse in the ambulance.
Right. Yeah, you find out he's fine. He's post this seizure. He'll be we're getting there. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
Brilliant escape. Well done, man.
Best version of Chilton though
he's still the best. I like in Hannibal. I like him in Hannibal too, but he's more of a character in Hannibal, the show.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's because they got TV time.
They got TV time.
They got that. We can make a full.
I can't. You have to look up his name. I can't think of the guy's name because I liked him because he was in that the musical version of Leap of Faith. I was trying to see on Broadway that got canceled before right before I had tickets to go to New York to see it.
Raul Esparza.
Yeah, Raul Esparza. He's great in it.
Yeah.
This movie has a lot going for it. I like Jonathan Demme's choice of shots. There's a lot of close-ups. Like unnerving close-ups. To
see inside who you are.
Yeah, the shots were like when she's explaining the lamb's story. It's her in just full close-up,
right.
And then it cuts to him and just it's not quite close-up, but it's like between a close-up and a cowboy shot. It's just and he's just menacing. And then back to her. These just this type close-up. It's just fascinating work.
Yeah.
Also. This will be in the trivia, but he shot her differently than he shot everyone else, so we could force the perspective around
Okay.
And so we'll get into that when we get into the trivia. But I thought that was real neat too. We haven't even touched on James Gunn yet.
No, I mean,
I was just thinking
Ted
about
Lavine
it.
is so.
Oh, Ted Levine's great in this. Just.
Okay, listen.
Sure.
Speaking of him, I did not know that when Jay and Silent Bob do that bit in Clerks, that it was from this movie.
Right.
Because that is a scene I have never watched.
Right.
So it came on, I was like, I know this.
The Goodbye Horses bit.
Like, he was saying all the things, I was like, I know this. And then he bent down, I was like, is he talking it?
I'd fuck me.
And then he leaned back, and I was like, this is Clerks.
Right.
Yeah.
And, Derby Wife was like, well, that's where they got it from. And I was like, I didn't know that. Like, it's just...
This is one of the.
And this is why I watch movies with you. This is why.
And it's interesting because you mentioned that you've seen scenes from this movie before. It's interesting that this is not one because this is a very cultural osmosis scene that's been throughout.
Well,
but it is interesting seeing that perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, and like the movie got criticized at its time from
like our toy Bob.
from the trans community.
Yeah, because of
their
It showed them in a negative way.
because it almost
right.
does.
Well, because trans people over the course of cinematic history have always been the trope of the crazy cross-dresser or the crazy man who wants to be a woman, but they're always crazy. Like they're always a serial killer or a criminal or something. Yeah. There's always something up with it, and I think this movie, while not perfect in that area, makes it absolutely clear that regardless of what this guy is doing, he is not a transsexual. He's something else, and he's wrongly thinking that he's trying to be he's trying to transfer, much like the Tooth Fairy killer, who the Tooth Fairy was trying to turn into a dragon. He was trying to be this dragon,
almost this god.
Right. James Gunn hasn't figured out what he wants to transform into.
He just likes the skin of the ladies.
But I think that's his. I think even if they never caught him, he would still kill because it wouldn't make him happy.
Because Demme,
happiness is not for him becoming a woman; it's him becoming something else. And I think logically for him it's like, oh, I'm a guy, I feel weird in my, I should be a woman. I don't think it's like he's actually a transsexual. I think he's like trying to be something else.
He's just trying to find himself.
Because I did
find himself as he leans over into this.
Yeah, I did some reading because I was interested in that subject of how it was perceived and the perception, and Demme came out and was like, no, it's not that, he's a man who wants to change. Like you said, he doesn't know what he wants to change into, but he doesn't want to be what he is right now. So what's the furthest thing from being a man?
And the book,
that's what you know
and the
to
book,
try.
Thomas Harris's book does the same because the book came out 87, I want to say. So it comes out
88.
So
still
8 years after Red Dragon.
Yeah.
And mainly wrote because he was like he needed some cash, and so he wrote another book. And then the other ones he writes because the movie studios pressure him to do it.
Although he also wrote the script for the worst of them.
Hannibal comes out, but he doesn't want to write Hannibal. But the studio's like, we need to make a sequel to Silence of the Lambs. And so he's like, fine. And they pay him a lot of money to write the book.
Yeah.
And he writes the book, but he writes it like in a way that it's unfilmable, like disgusting. And like they offer to Jonathan Demme, and Demme's like, yeah, I'm not doing this. This is terrible. I offered to Jodi Foster to come back. Nope. It's disgusting. We're not going to do it. And so it gets on hold for another 2 years until they find people. So Ridley Scott takes over.
Which also creates the timeline. It's a huge gap between movies.
Right. And then Julianne Moore comes in and plays Clarice in it. And so, yeah. But.
And then.
Julianne Moore is a wonderful actress.
Yeah, because we were talking about that.
She is also an Oscar-winning actress. She is not a Clarice Starling.
I don't feel like you can replace Clarice.
It's hard to. Jodie Foster.
And they've now officially tried twice.
They tried twice with the Clarice TV show, which we found out is on Freevee if you want to try to watch that. I watched the first couple episodes. I couldn't get into it. Mainly because, again, she's from West Virginia. And famously, I went to school in West Virginia. And at the end of the first episode, she gives a press conference where she says she's grew up in the Kanawha County, West Virginia.
Yep.
And having lived in Kanawha County, it's not how you say Kanawha. And it was a poor Australian actress, and I was like, this poor Australian actress should have did some research.
Yeah. Or at least somebody on the writing team should have.
Well, I feel bad. It's like how I feel when I watch movies that happen in Mobile, and they're like, it's Mobile, Alabama, and I'm like, no one's
or mobile.
Yeah, it's like no one calls
from
it
Mobile.
Yeah, no, it's Mobile, mobile, like a phone. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Ted Levine's amazing in this movie. I mean, he is frightful.
Yep.
In this, even like when he does the Ted Bundy thing, when he
with the van
and the couch that's how Ted Bundy got one of his victims.
Yeah.
And so I think that's. Can you help me out here? Yeah. And it's like,
can you be the one to get in the van?
Get in the van. And I'm like, no. Catherine, don't get in the van. And I've seen this movie a lot. I'm always like, don't get in the van, baby.
Like,
don't get in the van.
Like, I feel like if somebody's like asked me to help them and they want me to get into their vehicle, nope, I'm done.
Are you about a size 14?
I'm like, nope.
What?
It's like, no, you get in your vehicle. I'll help you from the outside if you really need help.
I also want to talk about the storage unit.
Oh yeah.
So in the first meeting between Lecter and Clarice, it gets it's cordial at the beginning, and then she screws it up basically, because she just wants to. Because
she goes to what she needs.
Right, and all she needs is this questionnaire, and which is not what she needs, and she doesn't know it. Because she's bait.
Whereas Hannibal knows what she needs,
right?
And he's just like, no, ask me what you need, not this.
You're right.
She's like, no, that's what I need.
And then he's like, and it's funny where like she's not even aware what she needs, and he's already figured her out.
Which
like
is
he
true
knows
of most people. Most people don't know what they need.
Right, but being the psychiatrist, he's like, oh, this is all about Buffalo Bill. That's why he asks the questions, and then he sends her on the way. Fly, little starling, fly, and then of course Multiple Miggs does what he does.
Yeah.
Which was gross.
Yeah.
I cut my wrist. No, you're not. That's not. And then it pisses Hannibal off because one thing that we learned over the course of like everything is that he detests rudeness, and like you find out in Hannibal that a lot of the victims that he killed was just because they were rude to him.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a decent guy. Like
he just eats people.
Also, he needs to restock the fridge.
No problem. There's been again, I'm only 2 to 3 episodes in. I don't know for sure how many. I can't remember. But every time he's eating, I'm like, that's a person.
Which is what you're supposed
and he's
to.
always
it's what you're supposed to feel.
Serving it to somebody else. Every time he's eating in that show, he's feeding somebody else.
And the way that the cooking is shown in that show, like the way that we see the prep time, really makes that show.
Well, they hired a professional chef. One of the celebrity chefs, I can't remember his name. He does the food on that show.
Yeah,
and
like we see the process of it,
right.
which is what makes it so much better.
And like he goes to Graham's room and they're eating eggs and what looks like fingers, but it's sausage.
Right.
And you're like, that might be a finger.
That's what's so good about it, right?
Well, apparently, I guess it's delicious. But it's so far with the show, I don't know if this is the spot you were going to ask it, but we had mentioned before the 3 Hannibals.
Yeah. We'll talk about
it. Okay. Because I've seen Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
Silence
of the Lambs. Thank you. And then the show Hannibal. So my struggle with the show Hannibal is the person that plays Lecter in that is the bad guy from Harry Potter, and I struggle with
Mads,
that because he's already dead to me. Like he showed up and I was like, villain right there. That's a bad guy. He's not good. And then it turns out to be Hannibal Lecter, and of course I already know who he is. Like if you were someone more naive than me in life, and you just watched the show Hannibal, not having had seen anything else, it would be really fascinating to watch their perspective.
Sure.
To know if they can figure out
they would
he's
also
a bad guy.
They would also have to avoid a lot of cultural osmosis because I think Hannibal the Cannibal as a rhyme is just entered the.
You find them though.
Yeah,
There's
you can
people
find
out
them.
there.
You can find them.
We found you.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
You,
I don't know for sure if I hadn't watched pieces of it in school that I would be as aware of it.
Right.
Just because if it's outside of your thoughts or your your processing, you don't realize or you don't connect it.
Or you weren't around when the movies were popular.
And they call him Dr. Lecter.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily focus on Hannibal so much.
Right.
So it would just be really fascinating to get that sort of perspective. I guess that's what you guys do to me. But now I want to watch somebody else do it to see if they recognize the uncomfortable. Because there's something about him that's uncomfortable.
And the cycle continues.
Yeah. But we
should
know
do it as
what
a podcast.
it is.
I'd produce it. Watch you and someone else.
Like, I'll be like, I'll host this.
Yeah, I'll watch.
Let's watch this show together.
And also, the show is interesting because it's a prequel, so you're getting like
I really love that part because you're getting to know him before.
Because the first
that other
two
aspect.
seasons are a prequel, and then 3 is Red Dragon, I think.
And the thing is about, I mean, in the show, Hannibal's likable.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not unlikable.
You start to root for this friendship between Will and
right.
Lecter.
And then it's going to...
Except for when he used the phone to tip off the guy.
Yeah. But you know it's going to fall apart, though. And so it's like...
It's a love-hate.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you were Tumblr when the show was airing, not only were you you weren't just rooting for friendship.
they shipped them. When are they going to fuck? Because that's what I wanted them to do. And I just don't know if Will Graham's capable of that. I mean, because Will Graham in the show is clearly on the spectrum.
Well, also Brian Fuller as a showrunner tends to be like he feeds like the Tumblr audience, but he never fully goes through with it.
But Graham is on the spectrum,
sure.
Clearly on the spectrum, and like
Hugh Dancy is so good.
But Peterson's Will Graham's also can, but that was before the spectrum was like being discussed as a thing.
Ed Norton's the only one that's like the odd one out.
Yeah,
in terms of that.
I don't dislike Ed Norton's, but he's my least favorite of the three, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and but as we learned in Manhunter, Peterson didn't want the role anyway, so he's just there for. I mean, he's a good actor. He's going to do what his job is.
That's Will Graham.
Yeah, and he's going to do his job. But you clearly can tell he's like not comfortable on set anyway.
He was checking the boxes,
and so, but like I don't think he wanted to be there, and you could see that in the performance, which makes the performance better. I think
because he didn't want to be there. Like he got drugged from his home.
While we're on the Will Graham of it all.
Before we get to the Will Graham,
go ahead.
I wanted to talk about we were talking about the three Hannibals.
Yeah. 3 Hannibals.
So, in research of this, I was listening to another podcast, one I love called Blank Check. Mm-hmm. And Blank Check, what they do is they take a specific director and they go through all of their films every episode of a specific. And so they did Jonathan Demme, and so Silence of the Lambs is one of his films, and so there's a great episode of Silence of the Lambs, and their guest is a trans woman, and so that's where they really got in discussion about the transsexual of it all and everything. But what got brought up, it was the 3 Hannibals, and I found this fascinating. So you've got Brian Cox, Anthony Hopkins. I keep wanting to say Daniels. That's C-3PO. And you get Mads Mikkelsen. And in the books, at times Hannibal's described as a man, a monster, and a demon. And then they were like, well, Brian Cox is the man. Mm-hmm. Anthony Hopkins is the monster. Mads Mikkelsen is the demon. And that's all I can see now. I cannot unsee that's in my brain now. And so, I mean, the demon is seductive and like Anthony Hopkins' Lecter is cordial, but you know that man will kill you.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Well, because they bring
up Mikkelsen will seduce you before he kills you.
Well, because they bring up every time I mean,
all three of them are dangerous, but it's like
every time in Silence that they're talking about him, they're like, "Oh, he's a monster,"
right.
and like incapable of
but
describing
in Manhunter,
him.
Brian Cox is a man.
Yeah.
And he based his performance on a serial killer who's also a man. And like Hopkins is literally leaning into the monster role of it.
Yep.
Like
even his like rapping, like his bondage appears.
Anthony Hopkins is literally playing Dracula. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the performance he's playing Dracula.
Well, yeah, because there's that whole line of, "Is he a vampire?"
Well, not even that. But like when you see
and the way he
like when Clarice first sees him, he's just standing still.
Like in the middle of his cell.
Right. No one does. Monsters do that. That's
Monsters and then the next time the lights are out and he's
so like I can't I heard that Friday. That's what I was listening to during my infusion I talked about last week. I was listening to that for research, and I was like, I just could not get that out of my head. That's 100% right. Like, Brian Cox is playing the serial killer that he researched. Anthony Hopkins decided he wanted to be Dracula and played Dracula, and it works. It just works.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's funny that podcast went over his library, Demme's library, because right after is Philadelphia, which is like
another
classic.
Another classic gets Tom Hanks' Oscar. Demme's a great director. Rest in peace. He died a few years back. Mm-hmm. About the Will Graham of it all.
Yeah. So the Will Graham of it all. So I texted you when I was watching this morning. Because I was looking at little small bits. I'm looking for the little things since HBO Max. I can pause it and be like, oh, here's something in its high definition. I watched during the newspaper clippings, and I was pausing during that just to see if I could catch anything, which back then they didn't do much. Like, you don't get a lot of Easter eggs.
Back then there was not. All you had was VHS, and you paused VHS, it was distorted anyway. So they did a lot of repeating.
Yeah, so that, like, I would catch, because I was looking specifically to see if there was any hints of Will Graham, even though I know there wouldn't be, because the copyrights of how these movies were made is an interesting story all in itself, along with how the shows are made. There's a reason why Clarice is not a thing in Hannibal show.
She was supposed to be. She was going to be in the 4th season.
Yeah, but rights issues.
I can explain the rights issue right now, actually.
Yeah.
So Dino De Laurentiis makes Manhunter. He's the producer of Manhunter. He's this Italian guy who buys a lot of... He's a rich Italian... He was a rich Italian guy who bought a bunch of stuff, and he financed it through I forgot what the company was. It was his and some other company. And Manhunter flops. You have to understand, Red Dragon was one of the biggest books in history, in literary history. It was one, like we just discussed in the Manhunter episode. It was one of the first airport novels. You know, you'd buy it at the airport and read it on. Everybody was reading it, and so that kind of sparked like John Grisham and Clancy. What's the
Nancy Clancy?
I know what you're talking about.
The Hunt for October, those novels and stuff.
Yeah,
and so he's
Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy, and he's so De Laurentiis, who's Italian, is like, you know, hey, it'll be a hit. It'll be a great hit, you know, and then it bombs.
Well, that's because
it bombs.
For many reasons, but yes.
Yeah, it bombs. And so he's like, I'm not. And so I'm not going to make any more. And Orion bought the rights to do the book for $500,000 from Thomas Harris, but they still had to get the film rights from De Laurentiis, who owned them because of Manhunter, and he just gave them to him.
Okay.
Because he's like, you don't make a movie with Hannibal Lecter, you will not make any money. Well, whatever. So he just gave them to him for free, zero. Silence of the Lamb becomes this huge hit.
Oh God.
And so suddenly Dino De Laurentiis is back in the Hannibal Lecter movie. You know, he's like, oh, we need to make others, and that he's
big
the one,
seller's regret.
Right. And so he's like, because he still owns the rights, he gave them for the one movie, but he owns the rights to them. Yeah. And so he didn't like sell them permanently. He just like, hey, you can make this movie. Well, now he owns the rights to Clarice and all this, and so he picks and chooses how, or the family does now since he's dead.
Yeah.
They pick and choose, but they made Hannibal, and they made Red Dragon, and then made Hannibal Rising. I think Dino De Laurentiis dies after that.
Yeah.
Or he dies right
and
before.
Hannibal Rising's the only one where Thomas actually wrote part of the script.
And then Hannibal comes out, and Hannibal is a hit, and they were negotiating. The reason why Hannibal was hit, because Dino De Laurentiis' family does as well, is that it's basically it's made out of country, and NBC airs it like on Friday nights in the summertime kind of thing, and so because it's cheap for them to buy and produce, and they're not producing it; they're basically just licensing it to show it.
Okay.
And so it's cheap for them to make, and so, but they were like, we're done after we're not going to buy anymore after 3 seasons, so that's why it gets canceled. But the 4th season was always going to be about. They had just got a deal where they could put Clarice in it.
It didn't help they weren't getting views because NBC was doing that thing that TV networks do.
Yeah.
I know because I was watching during that time and I was getting upset that they were doing it, where they don't want to do season 4, so to drop their viewership and have an excuse to not air more, they were changing the schedule of when the show would air.
Yeah, you could never find it, and I mean, I looked out and watched it on their website because this is they were just started doing streaming on their own website. So I caught it when it aired when it was on the websites.
Yeah. So,
or it would come to Hulu. I think.
Yeah, and then of course they can have the excuse of, well, nobody's watching. It's like, because you're moving it.
Right, it's their, and they do it on purpose.
Yeah,
because
it's a network thing.
Network studios, the whole thing, are just they're evil.
And so,
seriously, there's worse things out there.
Yeah.
And we celebrate the movies, but hate the studios.
Well, yeah, they're all awful.
Pro writers. Let's go.
So that's why. And then Clarice gets her own show, which is terrible on CBS.
So they didn't let Clarice go to season 4, but they gave her her own show.
They did it. And then that show came in a few years later.
And then the show isn't even. It's not an adaptation of Silence because I'm assuming more rights issues probably somewhere.
Yeah, because they're not doing it because they've got Silence and they don't want to mess with it. So they do. It's a bridge between Silence and
Hannibal.
Because Clarice's life in Hannibal sucks.
Yeah.
Like there's some shit that goes down we don't know about.
Because there's a
that
10-year gap.
Yeah, there's stuff that's not written yet that like.
Talking about Hannibal the movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
Hannibal and the book
Okay.
and the book and so like. And the
I'm
book,
saying not the show.
Not the
Right,
show. Not the
yeah,
show.
sorry.
That's okay.
which is confusing. I forgot. They're all three
Yeah.
called the same thing.
Yeah.
But so the book movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's the end of Silence of the Lambs. Clarice graduates and she's solved this. I mean, literally, she has solved this murder.
Top of the
Right.
world.
Top of the world.
Right.
She's killed the serial killer. She should have anything she wants, right?
Oh,
she could
God.
write her ticket. She was supposed to go work for Jack Crawford, and we
Right,
don't know.
right.
We don't know if she does that or not. When we see her 10 years later, she's running. She's in charge of a drug task force kind of thing. So it's not behavioral behavioral anything. And she's like and she's involved in a situation that goes very, very poor that ruins her career.
Oh.
And which forces Hannibal out of out of hiding to help her.
Because he likes her.
He's in love with her.
Yeah.
I mean, you know that at the end of Silence, he is very much. I mean, in his cage in Memphis, there's a picture where he's drawn of her.
Yeah.
He's in love with Clarice. I mean, and it's way worse
'Cause
in
of
the
her eyes.
right, and way worse in the movie. So
I would have loved to see Mads Mikkelsen's version of that, of being in love with Clarice.
it would have been fun. It would be fun
Because
especially-
Mads is
especially after
great.
being in love with Will Graham.
Yeah.
So,
If you were
but
the internet,
I,
yeah.
I think this movie's great. I think there's not a bad performance in this. I mean,
No.
and I know we got to get to the libation, but I just outside of Hopkins and Jodi Foster, who were brilliant in this, I think Scott Glenn's Jack Crawford's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we didn't even get into the Scott Glenn of
Yeah,
it.
Scott Glenn's great.
We did off air, but
Scott Glenn is a great actor, and he's one of those guys. He's been around for a long time, but he's one of those guys who's like always like in a supporting role.
he's always a mentor.
He's
too.
and he's a great character actor. He's been in a bunch of stuff, and so before you got here, we were looking up like how many awards he's got. He at least had to be nominated for best supporting actor, and all have to be right, have to because he's great in everything. He has one nomination total,
For what?
and it's a Saturn Award, which is the genre awards, the high sci-fi horror fantasy awards from 2015 for the
Daredevil show.
for the Daredevil the Netflix show.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
2016.
that's
I
a
guess,
damn
so, yeah.
shame. Scott Glenn has been in
Poor guy.
amazing films, and he's an amazing actor, and someone should recognize that. So, when we have an award, when I come up with a Cult Movie Cantina award,
Very first one's going to you, buddy.
Scott Glenn, you're on it because you deserve it. You absolutely deserve it, buddy. So, but he's good. Brooke Smith as Catherine Martin, the girl in the well.
She's good.
Oh.
Oh,
she's good.
just great.
She's good.
I believe she is fearing for her life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's
Especially
good.
when like Clarice comes in and she's like, no, don't go.
You bitch.
Anthony Hill is Dr. Chilton. We've a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, skeezy from the
yeah.
moment. It's like
What are you doing,
whatever. Baltimore can be a fun town if you have the right guide. And she's just like, I ain't having time.
And then they get all the way to the end. He's like, "You could have told me that before you wasted my time." She's like,
But,
"But then I wouldn't have had the pleasure of your company."
He's like, oh, okay.
just,
He's snivelly. I
just
don't
so
like him.
skeezy.
I
Oh,
don't like
it's
him.
great.
He does a good job.
He just is.
And he comes back for Red Dragon, but he doesn't come back for Hannibal. Because I think
No. So, what happens officially to Dr. Chilton in the books is that he goes missing.
Yeah.
They never find him.
and we can just
Well, 'cause
assume
He was going to dinner with an
Yeah.
old friend.
Right, and that's what we can assume. We assume
Right.
Collector did away with him, but
Breakfast.
no spoilers, but the show handles it a little differently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Good to
so
Which is all, like you said,
which
it's
is also good.
Chilton.
Which is
Yeah.
also good. It's very good. Again, Ted Lavine as James Gunn is just.
I loved it. It was a great movie.
So I know we gotta get the libation.
Yeah.
There's so much about this movie I want to talk about. Because I really like this film, and one of the neatest things in the third act when Clarice is at the house that ends up being James Gunn's house, but we get to see what's going on with the FBI in Calumet City in Chicago.
It's one of
And
those cool. You think they're going in
the
one
editing
house.
makes you think it's at one place.
Yeah.
The best part of that because at this point Catherine Martin has got Buffalo Bill's dog Precious in the well. Precious, you don't hurt my dog.
She's in a lot of pain, mister.
Needs to go to a vet.
don't you hurt my dog. Don't you make me hurt your dog. God, this movie's great.
So smart.
But I love when like Clarice hits the doorbell and it got the crazy doorbell downstairs.
Yeah.
So he's got to go upstairs and take to get the.
I'm coming.
Right. He gets it and puts it on his pants like I'm coming. It cracks me up every time I'm seeing this. So 2 things screw this movie up.
Okay, let's do it.
That like first of all, if he doesn't answer the door, no one finds out that he's there.
Like he should have just not
Right,
answered the door.
because Clarice is not expecting him. She's expecting Mrs. Lipman.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
2, if he doesn't kidnap Catherine Martin, no one knows about it because he just accidentally happens to kidnap a senator's daughter.
Right. Somebody of higher standing.
Right, which I think is like,
Which is where, for me, I found the ticking. I found the ticking clock a little bit more
sure,
tight than say Manhunter.
Right.
Whereas Manhunter's clock is some random person's gonna die. When
the clocks are different because we know.
Yeah.
We're told in Silence of the Lambs that Buffalo Bill comes and kidnaps someone, starves them for a week,
Yeah.
and then or keeps them for a week and then kills them.
Yeah.
And Manhunter, the Tooth Fairy,
Has a month.
has a month. He's on a lunar cycle. So when they meet Will Graham, they have 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so it's a little slower in that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Do you think that he often gets people at the door, and it would be weirder if he do you think he probably felt like it would be?
No, I think he's just trying to be a normal guy.
Yeah.
I
Like,
get the door.
yeah, no, like,
human
I'm
beings
just
get the
doing
door.
normal stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
human beings get the door. And so,
Draw no attention.
I also like how she holds her FBI badge up and quickly puts it down.
Yeah,
you never see it.
Well, because I mentioned while we were watching the clip, I was like, because there's that scene where Hannibal says that, it expires in what, a month or
A
whatever?
week?
A week, yeah, a week. And so I bet
Honestly, it's probably expired.
I think she's now self-conscious about that, and
Because he pointed out
and so
Right.
she shows it.
I never thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
It's like showing a permits versus a driver's
license,
license.
Yeah.
right.
You just do it quickly.
Well,
You're
in
like,
my
it's
day-
a real license.
Well,
Don't mind.
in my day, they all looked the same.
Yep.
You'd had to do that because nowadays licenses, like if I think it's still right, they're oriented different if you're
If you're under 21.
If you're
under
under-
21,
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
oriented different. So like,
But in terms of a permit or a
Depending on
driver's, they
state,
look the
depending
same.
on state for
Right,
the
for
under
Alabama,
21.
for
Yeah, for
Alabama.
Alabama.
and so it's just okay. I gotta
Yeah.
talk about this movie.
Yeah.
We got a show to go
Yeah.
to. All right. Time. What's our libation?
Oh, you would like to know what our
I am
libation is?
just.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this movie more, but
Yeah.
again, addictions.
It's just such a good movie.
God, it's no lie. Look, I think a reason why I'm excited about this. I've always liked this movie. I forgot how much I enjoy this movie, and it's been real fun for me to bring this one to the. Did you bring Chianti?
Yeah, some Chianti.
Hell
Best
yeah!
enjoyed with
I love it. I love.
Yes. I found out last minute that Our Lady of Libations was not coming.
Yeah, she's under the weather.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I just try to do what I can.
So no fava beans with it.
Hold on.
No. Oh, yeah, you want a TikTok of this?
Yeah, I want to choose. We got TikToks too, so you just do your thing. I'm gonna,
Straight from a corkscrew purchase in Paris.
Perry.
Makes it taste better, right?
Where'd you go to Paris?
Josh's parents did when we were married, and they brought it back.
Oh,
So you've had it for that long?
wow.
It stays in my lunchbox. And of course, it's going to give me a hard time now that I'm being filmed.
So basically, you got the Chianti and the divorce. I don't think Josh drinks a lot of wine, so
I think he drinks more than you would know. Probably not. Well, I don't know if he does now or not.
he always drinks beer and like liquor when I'm hanging out with him. Which has been a minute. I haven't seen him. I need to go over there.
All right. Caleb,
Yes.
would you like some?
Yes, please.
Oh, it looks like blood.
I just don't want any liver.
Or fava beans.
Yeah.
Scotty, you are not having any Chianti, correct?
No, I'm on medication. I can't drink. For those who were asking why Scotty never drinks, medicated.
All right. I'm very grateful that the Piggly Wiggly had some Chianti. So I was like, I'm just going to go get some Chianti.
There we go. Get a good shot of it. Thought I brought some in last time.
We may use them when she spilled things.
I don't know what you're talking about.
If not, I can.
No, that's okay.
Okay, cool. I thought I brought some in to keep for.
I forgot to get some when I got water.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought I got some for that way. Next time we spill something, we're good to go.
I got under the label. That's fine. Hello, I'm back.
Yep.
I haven't had wine in so long.
Is that keto friendly?
It is. I searched that at the store before I purchased it. So I was like, if it's not, then we can't. Like, Caleb would be drinking it.
I mean,
Caleb would be drinking all of the Chianti.
yeah, I'd take it home.
How is it?
Oh, I love wine. It's
Caleb.
delicious.
I like wine too.
To describe it for me, because
It tastes almost like it would go well with a good helping of
the sweet wine, a dry wine.
It's
lamb steaks, possibly.
yeah.
Maybe a little liver on the sides, but definitely some beans. Smells like it needs beans.
Yeah.
It is a drier
Yeah.
red. Yes.
Cool. So you enjoy a nice Chianti the next time you watch Signs of the Lambs.
Get you a Chianti.
I have some Apocrypha because, of course, I have a lot of because this movie went through a lot of hands beforehand.
Let's do it.
So Gene Hackman brought the rights to the novel first. He planned to direct this movie and play either Dr. Hannibal Lecter himself or Jack Crawford. He withdrew after watching a clip of himself in Mississippi Burning at the 61st Annual Academy Awards, which made him uneasy about taking on violent roles.
Okay.
Yeah, and Hackman's a great actor. He's
Yeah.
a multiple Oscar winner, and he would have been. I think he would have been fantastic as Jack Crawford. I don't see him as Hannibal Lecter. It's hard to see other people as Hannibal Lecter besides the three that we've got.
There were plenty of options though.
But after Jodi Foster read this for the first time, she tried to buy the rights herself, only to find out that Gene Hackman had beat her to it.
Wow.
When Ted Talley was writing the screenplay for the movie, he suggested Jodi Foster for the role of Clarice Starling. Foster had been lobbying hard for the part, but Jonathan Demme was hired to direct, and he wanted Michelle Pfeiffer instead. Pfeiffer turned it down because Orion Picture wasn't willing.
Was it because of fava beans?
No, Pfeiffer turned it down because Orion wasn't willing to pay the $2 million in which she asked.
How dare he?
Also, she was nervous about the subject matter.
You'll find out in all of this, they were all nervous about the subject matter.
I feel like that's good. If they weren't nervous about the subject matter, I would be concerned.
Demme then agreed to meet with Foster. He hired her only after one meeting because he said he could see her strength and determination for the part. He felt that she was perfect for Clarice, and he was right.
She really was. She did such a good job.
But Demme also looked at 300 other applicants for the role. We've mentioned Michelle Pfeiffer. Meg Ryan also turned down the role because of disturbing matter. Brooke Smith, who played Catherine Martin, also auditioned, and that's how she got Catherine Martin. And Nicole Kidman also read for the part.
That'd be weird.
I think Jodie Foster's perfect.
Yep.
I think Michelle Pfeiffer would have knocked it out of the park.
Not sure about Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan would have been fine, but it would have been.
They also looked at Laura Dern, but the studio wasn't so sure about her.
Yeah.
Meg Ryan will look too ditzy.
Well, Laura Dern hadn't done anything, and so much, and they were like, "Who?" And they wanted a bigger star. Jodie Foster had been in a bunch of stuff. She had also won an Oscar 4 years earlier, so they were like, "Oh, we have an Oscar-winning actress for this."
Got a child star. I mean, she's been around.
She had been around lots.
What did she win the Oscar for before that?
The Accused in
88.
88. So.
Okay.
For supporting, right? Or actress. It's one of the two.
I can look.
So, the list of people to play Hannibal Lecter is long.
It's long.
So it's a lot of the same people you normally. John Hurt, Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, Doc Brown as Hannibal Lecter.
Demme's first choice is interesting.
Yeah, we'll get to that because I'm really I want to talk about that.
Forrest Whitaker was looked at.
Forrest Whitaker was Dustin Hoffman's Patrick Stewart, Lou Gossett Jr., who had also won an Oscar, Robert Duvall, Jack Nicholson, De Niro, And Jeremy Irons was asked, but he had just played Klaus von Bülow in Reversals of Fortune, won the Oscar for that, and didn't want to play another dark character.
Did they just make a list of everybody they knew?
Well, a lot of studios do that, and they go ask out who
Yeah.
wants to do it. They'll go, all right, here we want to make a movie. This character fits this description.
It's easier to cast the wide net.
Well, why? Well, this is what we can afford. And so
Right.
they cast everyone.
You get your first of qualifiers.
and then they get and then they knock everyone else until they get someone they need, which was interesting for Anthony Hopkins, who wasn't a known name.
Mm-hmm.
He's a British theater actor mostly, much like Brian Cox is, and he had done a couple of films, the biggest being The Elephant Man, in the early '80s, and so when he gets offered, but it changes his career completely. He wins the Oscar, and then he goes off to be Anthony Hopkins. He goes and does, Dracula, The Remains of the Day, Nixon. He goes on and builds all these films and builds his career off that. I think the same thing would have happened if Michelle Pfeiffer got it, because Jodie Foster, her career also blossoms, but she also wants to direct, so she works in like Little Man Tate is the first movie she directs, but she makes it as a deal, part of her Orion deal. If she'll do this movie that she's been dying to do, but she's also like, but if I do it, you'll let me direct a movie. And they're like, whatever.
Okay.
So it works out that way.
I mean, it worked out for Anthony because of Elephant Man.
The man that Jonathan Demme wanted the most was Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
I don't hate.
I could see it.
I don't hate
I
it.
enjoy people with Chianti and fava.
It's a different role. It's a different.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Dracula.
Tell me about the lambs,
He'd play it more refined.
Blank Check pointed this out too, and I have to agree. It would be how he would be in Finding Forrester.
Okay, yeah.
And so it'd be a scarier Finding Forrester. And I was like, okay, I could see that. So I'd be curious about that. But yeah, Sean Connery. So this is a call.
Honestly, a lot of those options I could potentially see. Forrest Whitaker would be an interesting take. I would love to see that.
Yeah,
at least today's Forrest Whitaker. I'm not sure.
I think all of them. I mean, De Niro couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Robert Duvall couldn't do it. Jack Nicholson couldn't do it. Nicholson's a fine actor, but we've seen The Joker, and that's the closest thing he's going to get to it.
I mean, and Nicholson tends to play Nicholson.
John Hurt would have been interesting. I don't think Christopher Lloyd could have pulled it off. Maybe Hoffman is too Dustin Hoffman. I don't see Patrick Stewart being in that.
Yeah.
Captain Picard can't be a bad guy. I don't know. Louis Gossett Jr. probably could because he was scary in Officer and Gentleman.
He's really good.
So I'm not sure. Michael Keaton, Mickey Rourke, and Sir Kenneth Branagh were all considered for the role of Jack Crawford.
Michael Keaton in general.
Oh, he's
like
great. I saw
Keaton.
The Flash, and he's really good in that. Ed Harris turned down the role of Jack Crawford because he didn't find the role interesting. He wanted to play the Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, sorry, Ed.
Yeah.
Paul Verhoeven. We've done a Paul Verhoeven film. He directed Starship Troopers.
Of course he did.
Was offered the project first, and he declined because he thought there wouldn't be an audience for such a dark movie. I love
Joke's on you.
And the decision when he later regretted. Demme signed on after reading the novel. The film was briefly considered for a direct-to-video release because, studio executives felt that the film's subject matter was too distasteful to market to mass audiences.
Well, I'm also sure that they were probably scared of it flopping like Manhunter.
So do you know when it was released? I think I told you, but...
No. The end of the year?
In the year. So movie schedules are weird,
right?
But they're purposeful. So, you release your movies at the end of the year because those are the movies you hope to get Oscar nominations. Yep. Your Oscar movies come out in the middle.
Oh, I know when this was. Because it goes to where movies go to die.
Right. So it's one of the 2 months that movie goes to die.
Summer?
No. August is one time where they go to die. If a movie coming out in August, they don't have faith in it.
Yeah.
If a movie comes out in February, they have no faith in it. This movie came out Valentine's Day weekend. The studio had no faith in this movie.
Release it during the love week.
Nowadays it's January and February kind of that are the dead months, but less so than it used to be.
Yeah, so I thought that was just
Valentine's weekend, huh?
Valentine's Day weekend.
You want to go on a romantic evening, Clarice?
My cousin, who I mentioned last week, who got the gym dolls, she saw it on one of her first dates in high school.
What?
Are they still together
I mean,
today?
no, they're
because
not.
that would be the best ending to this story.
Not at all. But she told me, right? Because I can't remember the guy's name, but she was like, "Oh, me and so went and saw that." 'Cause I've been dying to see it, and I couldn't drive yet.
Ugh.
And my
What a
parents,
jerk.
I had to wait to come on video, so I couldn't see it. Yeah, she was kind
I
of a jerk.
waited till 3 days ago.
Right,
So
but I'm glad you
could
watched
have
it.
waited a lot longer.
Yeah.
So, to the grapevine, all our fun trivia.
To the grapevine.
Jodi Foster claims that during her first meeting with Dr. Hannibal Lecter and Clarice Starling, Anthony Hopkins mocking her southern accent was improvised on spot. Foster's horrified reaction is genuine, and she felt personally attacked. She later thanked him for generating such an honest reaction. After Lecter was moved from Baltimore, the plan was to dress him in yellow or orange jumpsuit. He is in a yellow orange jumpsuit when he's on the he's in the straitjacket.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins convinced director Demme and costume designer Colin Atwood that the character would seem more clinical and unsettling if he was dressed in pure white. He got this idea because he has a fear of dentists.
Hey, that's fair.
We've talked about this before in another podcast, early season at least. At 24 minutes and 52 seconds of screen time, Anthony Hopkins' performance is the second shortest to win an Academy Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, behind David Niven and Separate Tables, who is at 23:39 minutes. In the term of percentage of runtime, Hopkins is the shortest, as he only appears in 21% of the film.
Yeah, he just has such a large presence that it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah.
Well, and again, like this film, it's part of what makes it so fascinating is it feels like you're supposed to be paying attention to this. I forgot it. Billy Bob the Butcher. Buffalo Bill. But he's only the supporting bad guy. Like the real bad guy is Anthony Hopkins. But also, I don't know. It's just done in a way where it's so fascinating because you're like, so who is the main focus of this? But really, it's Clarice.
So
I would disagree that Buffalo is the secondary antagonist. He's still the prime thing to take down.
I'm also in the minority of this either. I don't think Anthony Hopkins' performance is a Best Actor qualifier. I don't think he qualifies.
No,
I think he is a Best Supporting Actor. He's supporting Clarice in this.
Right, and she got supporting, didn't she?
No, she got Best Actors.
Okay.
They won both Best Actor. My point is, while he is I think this movie lacks a primary male actor.
Oh yeah.
It has a bunch of supporting male actors.
Yeah, because none of them are.
But there's not a primary one.
Because Jack isn't there very long.
Yeah, no, it's just but it's not just their length; it's just their roles.
Yeah.
Lecter's supporting her in her quest to find.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one who gets her on the quest, and so I'm not diminishing his performance. I think his performance is brilliant. It's just I think it was more of a smart move on the studio to put him up for the Academy.
He's kind of
the award. Anyway.
He's kind of the.
Besides, the Oscars are fake anyway.
Yeah.
But just
he's kind of the antithesis to Jack in this film because Jack is the good mentor leading her down the path,
right?
And then he's the dark mentor.
But here's the question about it: is he the good mentor versus Jack sends her in with deception,
with a lie, yeah,
with a lie.
I feel like Hannibal is actually leading. I feel like that's a good supporting person for her,
right?
Because he actually helps her process in a weird, creepy way. Something deep.
The reason I think a dark mentor for him is because of his motives for doing it,
well,
not
sure,
not the actual actions themselves.
But you know what? Actually, I'm going to walk that back because I feel just from what I've seen of him in this so far and then the show, without having had read the books, mind you, that he genuinely enjoys the puzzle of a person. So while I don't think that he's necessarily, I believe that he's truly trying to help her.
I think that's the psychologist of him. He
can't help himself. And it's not necessarily maybe to benefit her as it is to benefit him. Maybe it's just a puzzle he wants to solve. But I don't think that it's a leading her astray or anything. I think he truly is the things he says really do help her. So I think it was not in a malicious way, if you will. It just was conversations that he can't turn it off.
Sure, absolutely. The production received full cooperation from the FBI.
Oh, that's nice.
They helped them. They filmed in Quantico and the whole thing, as they saw it was a potential recruiting tool to hire more female agents.
I was about to say,
hell, I wanted to be a female FBI agent when I watched this.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you see cops or military or anything like that on screen, it's because it's a recruitment ad.
Yeah.
So James Gunn lives in Belvedere, Ohio. Same place that Ted Lavine grew up, and so they shot it in Belvedere. They shot it in Ohio. And during location scouting for the house that James Gunn lives in, what's the lady's name? Mrs. Lippman's house. Lippman's house. He was amazed to discover the house was being considered was not only in the town he grew up in, but literally next door to his high school girlfriend's house.
Delightful. So much better. Reach out to them.
Yeah.
Be like, how you doing? I'm filming this really creepy horror film right next door to
where you grew up. Anthony Hopkins improvised the flash slurping sound that Hannibal Lecter does. He did it spontaneously during filming, and everyone thought it was great, except Jonathan Demme, because he was annoyed. But he denies it. He now denies it that he was annoyed because it's iconic.
Yeah,
it's iconic.
You can't go against the iconic stuff, otherwise.
Right. Sometimes you're wrong, Jonathan. Sometimes you're wrong. James Gunn's dance that Justine calls the J dance was not included in the original draft of the screenplay, although it appears in the novel. It was added at the insistence of Ted Lavine, who thought it was a scene for essentially defining the character.
And he's right.
I think so too. We didn't talk about this stuff at all, but because there's so much to talk about this movie. The moth cocoon found in the victim's throat.
Oh, yeah.
That whole scene's great. Was made of a combination of Tootsie Rolls and gummy bears.
Oh,
so in case it was, if they swallow, she could swallow it was edible.
It would taste good.
Well, that was nice.
So the idea to use glass in Lecter's Baltimore cell as opposed to traditional bars came from the production designer Christy Z. The idea came about because Jonathan Demme was unhappy shooting the Lecter scenes through the bars. He felt it negated the sense of intimacy between Lecter and Starling, which he was trying to achieve. And so in Thomas Harrison's novel, Lecter's cells did have bars, but they also have nylon net behind them. In Manhunter, there's plexiglass behind the bars, or in front of the bars. So, all right. So, I love this. So, there's a great scene where we find out, like, Clarice's whole reason to try to solve the Buffalo Bill murders is that because she feels this guilt from having to save a lamb that she couldn't save.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So she thinks that if she saves Catherine Martin, she will get those lambs to shut the fuck up in her brain.
Right.
If she can just save one.
Yep.
We find out later in other Starling stories, no, there's always going to be more lands for her to try to stop screaming. And so that's the thing. So there's that great scene where she's in close up in Memphis, and they're talking. And so when Clarice visits Dr. Hannibal Lecter in the new facility, Lecter insists she continues telling his story about the childhood as part of the agreement. Clarice reluctantly continues the story about running away. Midway through the confession, she mentions taking lambs with her. If you listen closely, she says, I thought if I could only save just one. A distant sound of something being dropped can be heard in the background. I went back and verified this. You can hear it. And I never noticed it until it was pointed out, which is great. I love those sound of things. And now we'll never be able to unhear it. But a crewman dropped a wrench during the filming, and Jonathan Demme panicked, thinking it would ruin the scene completely. However, Jodi Foster remained in character and continued the story, ultimately convincing Demme to keep the footage. After cut was said, Foster turned to the head of the crew and yelled, "What the hell was that?" So now you got to go back and watch and listen, but it's very faint in the background, but you hear something drop.
Could literally hear a needle drop.
I would have been pissed. Like from back, being the producer backstage, I would have been the one that was like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah.
So
did you hear quiet on set?
So how did they get Brooke Smith in the whale?
Oh. Was there a ladder?
So she climbed down?
I feel like from that face it's a no.
I think they used
No, I'm asking. Is that your answer? You think she climbed down?
I mean...
He says she climbs down. How'd you...
Are you talking about, like, logistically
like,
filming
yeah,
getting her in
No,
filming it.
Not Catherine Martin, the actress, Brooke Smith. How they get her in the well?
I think they use a pulley system.
Pulley system and a ladder?
Yeah.
Trap door. She climbs up to the bottom, and they covered it with dirt.
That's smarter.
It's smart. I don't think it doesn't... Because it's not as deep as you think it is.
Yeah, no.
Because, I mean, for filming, you can use a lens to make it deeper.
Yeah.
They covered the whole trap door with dirt. Brooke Smith gained 25 pounds to play Catherine Martin.
Well,
yep.
become a size 14.
Are you a size 4? Or wait, is she a big fat person?
I'm sorry,
Which once
wait.
again,
Is she a big fat person?
once
She
again,
was a
I was
big girl,
discussing this.
sir.
I'm like, she's not that.
She's not. No, she's like Hollywood fat, but she's great. She's like,
Yeah,
she
like-
looks wonderful.
Yes, sir. She was a big girl.
We mentioned this before. Daniel De Laurentiis produced Manhunter, passed on this movie because Manhunter flopped. He gave the rights away to Orion for free, and then went to co-produce Hannibal and Red Dragon because he's back in the Hannibal business.
Yeah. He was like, oh, it makes money?
The tobacco hornworm moth was used to be the Death's Head moth and was given celebrity treatment. They were flown first class in a special carrier. They had their own living quarters, room with controlled humidity and heat, and were dressed in carefully designed costumes, body shields, bearing paint and crossbones. So I want to know how do you get the position as bug dresser? How hard is it to dress a bug?
What a lovely life that moth had, though.
Right, and then
You would have to reach out to probably people who handle bugs and be like, "We need someone to dress our bugs."
Yeah.
Right.
Like, how do we do this in a way that's not going to...
That's not a position I ever thought you would be like,
Yeah.
oh, we need a drug dresser for this one.
Listen, I at this point, anything's possible.
Yeah.
At 29, Jodi Foster became the second youngest person to win 2 Academy Awards, behind Lewis Rayner. She won twice for both Best Actress, performance giving, and her first one was at the age of 24 for The Accused, and then of course this one, she was 29 when she won for Silence of the Lambs. She looks like she's older in her late 20s, but she's like she filmed it when she's like she started 26, turned 27 making this movie. And this movie has a couple of cameos of other famous people. David Lynch, who's a famous director. He's the guy shouting for Cindy to get in the ring for Starling when they pull her out to go look at the first Buffalo Bill victim when she's training.
Mm-hmm.
David Lynch happened to be on set today, and Jonathan Demme was like, "You want to say this line?" And he's off camera when he does it. George A. Romero, who created the modern zombie genre, Night of the Living Dead and all that stuff. He's one of the guys pulling Clarice off in Memphis after she's given her Lamb speech. Roger Corman, also a famous director, Oscar winner. He's made like 100 movies, including creating the original Little Shop of Horrors.
Okay.
He's the head of the FBI. That is like, did you make an offer with Hannibal Lecter? And like Crawford's like, yeah, I did it. And he's like, yeah, well, the senator's pissed. He's that guy. And then Chris Isaac, the musician, he's one of the SWAT team guys for this. I have 2 clips I want to show you.
Okay.
So, one of the things I'm fascinated about this movie, and next week we're going to get a lot in this because next week I want to talk about the deleted scenes because, spoiler alerts, there are so many deleted scenes, and if they were all included in the movie, it literally would be a different movie with a different tone and a different story.
Weird.
Yeah, and I can't wait to share some of this stuff with you because I want to.
Do you have a copy of it with the deleted scenes in it?
Yeah, well, no, I don't have it with it, but I have all the deleted scenes.
Like, it'd be cool to watch it all together.
It's weird to put it. It'd be hard to put it together, I think. But you could.
better.
You could
A
try.
potential editor, an editor probably could.
Yeah. So after Lecter talks Miggs into killing himself, he is being punished. If you remember,
Right.
Because they take his paintings.
Yeah, take his paintings.
he's in trouble.
Where he's in trouble
For being bad.
But one of the things that they do is they put a gospel program in front of him.
Yeah, he has to watch.
Yeah,
He's
yes.
get-
And it's only turned down for their meeting.
Right. And you don't really see it. And it's just in the background for just a second. Jonathan Demme had a friend come in and make the gospel program.
Like it's an actual thing they made.
This is,
That's pretty cool.
and so I've got a little bit. I've got. It's a 7-minute clip. We're not going to go through the whole 7 minutes, but I just want to show. And I'll put a link in it so you can watch it. But I wanted to share some of it with you. So I thought this was fascinating.
Proud to be with you today. Good to see you today. To the sick, the shut in, the can't get around's very good. The arthritis done got hold of you.
Arthritis
I
done
want
got
to
hold
bring a
of me.
little bit of the book into your living room today, and proud to see you. Jesus said that life is brief, death is sure, and that to every man someday he's gonna have to walk down through the valley, the shadow, the death. And we got to ask ourselves, before he walks, he's going to have to be right here on earth with the rest of us.
So this guy, I don't have his name. He's like a theater actor, and this is 100% improvised. They were just like, be a preacher, and he did it. And they made it, and like they don't even show it. You don't see it, and so it's just, it's.
I like that it says, "Free us."
Yeah, Demi just shot it. But you can watch it all. I'll put a link in the notes so you can see it, and I'll share it on the Facebook page because it's crazy. But I thought it was fun.
That is fun. Thank you for sharing.
So we've done this before with Quick and the Dead, and I mentioned any time that I could find a Siskel and Ebert episode that covers one of the movies we do, I would share it because we talked about. I'm fascinated by these two guys. These guys were so important to me growing up, and so I just want to share this with other people. So I have the actual review for Silence of the Lambs. Okay. As we know, there's two guys, and they review the movie, and they either give it thumbs up or thumbs down. So before we watch the review, I want to know, what do you? I'm
going to say thumbs up.
So Siskel is the skinny guy. Welber's the heavier guy. So you think they both give him thumbs up?
I think they both give thumbs up.
Both thumbs up.
With my brief knowledge of them.
Kayla, what do you think?
I think it's going to be split. Because I feel like... I forget... I think Siskel's not going to like it.
So Ebert likes it, Siskel thumbs down.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Where a young woman is held captive and terrorized in a well. The horrors of female abuse are too much with us, I think, now to be trifled with anymore in the movies. We had this complaint about the picture involving Julia Roberts. I have it again here. I didn't learn a thing about serial killers from this movie. A much more honest, less exploitive film on the same subject was last year's Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. By contrast, The Silence of the Lambs is a star-studded freak show directed by the usually enormously talented Jonathan Demme, who I think for the first time in his career has picked a surprisingly trashy project.
Well, this is a tough film to review because, of course, in terms of its subject matter, one can easily target it as you have. And also, I think that the ending doesn't really work. Once she gets into the house of Buffalo Bill, it does become a standard who's behind this door, who's going to jump on me from the shadows. The first part of this film, though, Gene, is terrifically effective, partially because of the real tension, the dynamic interaction between Jodi Foster and Anthony Hopkins. It's one of the most peculiar and fascinating relationships I've seen in a movie in a long time. Hopkins is very good here. Foster is very good here. The dialogue is at a very high level of intelligence, and the movie works not perhaps in the same way as Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, but effectively. And I think that you're really shortchanging a lot of skill and craft and art that went into this film.
No. You know, sometimes you say, I think you blew it on this one. I think you're being too easy on this picture in this way. He is presented, the Anthony Hopkins character, is presented as this big evil thing, and we're going down there to see them, a journey into hell and all that. And frankly, he was so pumped up, and the music was so pumped up at such a high level
that I worked for me. It worked.
Well, then you're easy, because for me, I thought, oh, come on. A guy who's truly frightening doesn't need, a huge organ playing in the background. I didn't buy it at all.
This is the movies. What did you want? A documentary, black and white, television, shoot it on video?
The reason why Henry, the Portrait of a Serial Killer works is because these people, my intuition, I don't have any first-hand knowledge, these people tend to be kind of dull.
Well, they're two different kinds of movies, and you're using one to criticize the other.
Yes, we always do that, Roger. We say better picture of the same subject. Why can't you criticize
this on its own terms instead of saying
I'm
what it is?
I'm criticizing on its own terms. I wasn't compelled by anybody except, I suppose, the Jodi Foster character as a strong woman.
Come on, a great performance.
Not a great performance, a decent performance.
Anthony Hopkins,
no,
great.
I thought that was way overplayed.
I don't like him.
So Caleb's right. Siskel doesn't like the movie Ebert does.
Siskel's a dick.
This one's kind of famous because Ebert, for years afterwards, until Siskel's death, would hound him about how wrong he was about Silence of the Lambs. Because, as we know, it goes on and wins
lots of things.
All the awards. Like he says, Jodi Foster's performance was okay.
Yeah.
It wins Best Actress, and then he discounts as Anthony Hopkins at the end of the review at all. He's famously like hates this movie.
Yeah.
And thought it was terrible.
And so I got curious, and while Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer is fondly remembered,
and a good movie.
It's just it does nobody like if I were to bring that film up versus Silence of the Lambs, one of those is going to get discussed more.
Right. Absolutely. More people have seen Silence of the Lambs, so so that was fun.
Yeah.
Its awards, it won. Like I said, it won Best Actor, Best Actress, Director, and Screenplay, and Best Picture. It's only one of 3 movies to have done so. It also was selected by the Library of Congress for its cultural and historically
preservation
significance. So Siskel was very, very wrong. You want to close this tab?
Oh,
let's close it on.
I do want to bring up one trivia piece that I'm surprised we didn't bring up in either this or Manhunter. Ted Lavine actually showed up to the Manhunter rap party, and that's part of why he was in discussions for this movie.
Who's that?
The one who plays Buffalo Bill. Because he was actually friends with Peterson at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So he actually showed up to the Manhunter rap party, and so he has previous connection to the franchise.
Okay, then.
So, as I said, this movie, you want to guess when it made? Opening weekend. Opening weekend was February 14th.
Stupid time to do it.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't know what the time. I'm not good at this. Can you give me a range?
I'll tell you. It's $13 million.
Okay.
How much should they? What was the budget for it?
I don't have. Caleb, can you find the budget for this? I have what it made domestically.
Yeah, budget was $19 million.
So it made $19 million. Domestically, it made $130 million. World and yeah. So
for the year.
Yeah, for the year.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I was about to say I got that bigger budget for the final box office because
I'm on Box Office Mojo. So.
Yeah. I just had Wikipedia pulled up. They tend to be good at showing box office, but they don't crunch the numbers as much as Box Office Mojo.
So it almost made its budget in the opening weekend.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
In February.
Yeah.
In February, yeah.
And you gotta understand, Orion Pictures was almost out. They were.
Yeah, they were dying.
They were facing bankruptcy, and this kind of saved them for a little bit. Not long. They ended up going. I don't have the. I don't have the weekend numbers because they only have the Thursday numbers, so that sucks.
Oh.
So, but I will do all time. How about that? We'll do yearly. I should do this earlier and I forgot to. This is 1991. All right. Silence of the Lambs does make the top 5 of the year. Do you want to know where it ended?
I'm going to say number 1.
It is not number 1. But
what's in the top 3 then?
I think maybe 4.
It is number 4.
Well, not in the top 3 then.
Number 4.
That's lame.
Number 5 is a Billy Crystal movie with that also features the best supporting actor of this year. It's about City. It's City Slickers. I was going to give the hint away.
Yeah, you were about to. Yeah.
Say it. I was trying to describe it, and when City, I was like, I might as well just say the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
I would not have
number 4, of course, is Silence of the Lambs. Number 3 is a movie we done on this on this podcast. It's a holiday movie, probably one of the biggest holiday movies of the 1990s.
I don't know. I never know.
We saw this. I think
that's delightful.
I think we saw this together.
Is it Die Hard?
No.
No.
You said it's a holiday movie.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing.
Home Alone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well. There it is.
Number 2 is a Kevin Costner film that is not Dances with Wolves.
Oh.
Because I want to go ahead and nix that one. That was the year before.
That's the one I was going to guess.
It's also not about water.
It is a famous story told many, many times in all kinds of media.
And Mel Brooks has specifically spoofed this version.
Yeah, and he has spoofed this one specifically. This one and the Errol Flynn one from the 30s.
I have no idea.
Caleb.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves. Had that god-awful Bryan Adams. Everything I do for you.
Yeah. Is number one a Disney movie?
Number one is not a Disney movie.
Well, it's not 95, so it's not Toy Story.
Well,
the Disney movie you're thinking is number 13.
Oh.
What Disney movie is he thinking?
The one that won an Oscar.
Nominated,
Nominated, yeah.
The first,
Aladdin?
Nope. 1 year before.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beauty and the Beast has the distinction of being the first animated film for being nominated for Best Picture.
And then they decided animated films aren't allowed to have Best Picture anymore.
Well, no, they still do. They're still allowed. But they also gave them a separate category.
Yeah.
But they didn't do that until much, much later.
Yeah.
The number one movie is a sequel. It is one of the rare occasions that the sequel is bigger than the original film.
Oh,
is it a Star Wars?
No.
But it is a sci-fi movie. I would call it a sci-fi movie.
Star Trek?
No.
Aliens?
No.
No, but you're on the right
Same director.
track. Yeah. Same director.
We haven't done these movies. We should, though.
That's as far as I got.
It's Terminator 2.
Judgment Day.
Yeah, we haven't done those.
Number 6 is Dances with Wolves.
So another.
Which
he did well.
Yeah,
he did.
He had a good year. Number 7, Sleeping with the Enemy, which is a Julia.
That's a good film.
It's a good film. It's a Julia Roberts movie. I didn't realize it made $94 million in that year, though. That's a lot of money. Number 8 is The Addams Family.
Ooh,
The Addams
Family. Number 9, The Naked Gun. 2.5, The Smell of Fear. And number 10 is Go Ninja No Go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Secret of the Ooze.
Oh, yeah.
And so which we've not done. We haven't done any of those.
I've actually seen one of those.
I'm trying
it's
to.
The one where he hits the toy and it keeps coming back up.
I think Home Alone may be the only. I'm looking real quick. I think Home Alone's the only one we've done tonight. In 91. We've done a lot of other movies that are like. There's a lot of sequels of this movie come out. So yeah. So that's. Oh, one of my favorite. No, found one. Found it. Warlock. We done Warlock.
Oh yeah, we done. Yeah,
we done Warlock. So that there.
We've done some that are pretty low on the list.
Yeah.
So you have to keep scrolling.
Yeah, that's why I got down to the past 100, and I'm like, oh, there we are. There we are. So, Silence of the Lambs. What do you think overall?
I thoroughly enjoyed this movie for many reasons. I would highly recommend it.
I'm definitely going to watch it again. I've already watched it 3 times this week.
But
I'm like you. I'm now kind of like, I should watch Hannibal.
Yeah, I'm watching Hannibal.
What's Hannibal on? What have you been watching it on?
I think it's on Hulu.
I don't know.
I've
opened so many of those recently, I can't remember.
I think it's on Hulu.
I think it's on Hulu, too.
But that's what I'm currently watching.
Well.
I'm pretty excited to go home and watch it again.
I think
some more, I should say.
That's what, I'm going to have to wait till after dinner, though.
It is indeed on Hulu.
Good. You guys can watch Hannibal on Hulu.
Well, we're going to go eat some hamburgers for dinner.
Are they hamburgers, though?
Stop it. Hamburgers and bacon.
And a nice Chianti. This is Guy saying this is our contribution to the multiverse. Go out and make yours.
Say goodbye.
Bye.